it's continuing to gnaw at me. I'm reading more and more what a failure these abstinence programs are. That makes me wonder, one, about the whole faith-based program nationally, but of course we're concerned with it here, just in Hawaii and how it affects Waikiki. I resent having to pay my taxes to some of these organizations. Again, First Amendment violations aside, et cetera. I guess what I see as one way to address this is to get some reports, get some accountability, some efficacy reports on, certainly on the abstinence one, because personally, from what I've read, that's a dangerous, the faith-based pray to be abstinent, those are complete failures. So I'd like to see next month if we could get a state representative, not necessarily recipient of these, but I want to know, every other agency is held accountable for where their money goes. Let's bring these groups in, representatives from the state, talk about these programs, because it appears to me, past 8 years, both nationally and locally, there's no accountability for these faith-based groups. So that may be one, at a time when we need to cut budgets, this may be an ideal situation to remove programs that don't adhere and aren't effective.
I'd be more than happy to invite whatever state agency you'd want, but I'd need some more specifics rather than that to be able to direct them in regards to what the questions are. So maybe we could talk offline.
Certainly, and if there's reports as far as what they've done and that sort of thing, that may suffice. But especially the absence program, that one doesn't work from everything I've read. So that's one. But I'm curious about all the faith-based organizations and how they're held accountable. If there's any reports they have to turn in, or if they receive, do they just receive their grants without any need to provide any report on how effective they are, or how they're spent, et cetera? Is there any?
I'm sure there's a reporting process. Yes.
Okay. I'd be curious if we could even have those as well, and just we can determine if our money's being wasted as taxpayers or if it's well spent.
Ray?
Marcia, what would happen if all the Catholic schools shut down? How much money would the state have to pay for that? That's faith-based, isn't it?
Yeah, it would. That's why we're having. I need to.
And they're
better
supported
clarification.
by any state funding to the Catholic schools?
No, not state.
All right, but just for the hell of it, that's that magic little thing.
Jeff,
I can read between the
It's
lines of the
different with-
last statement anyway.
Yeah, there's difference if our tax money is being paid for it, or if a religious organization, but if our tax money is going towards it, we have every right to know how that money is spent. And that's not asking too much. And if Catholic Charities is receiving taxpayer money, you bet they need accountability. They need accountability right here, and let us know exactly how that money is being spent.
Marsha, I want to ask you, do you know what the governor has in mind as far as cutbacks, seeing that the economic downfall is hitting everybody in the United States now? Does she ever share, does she have a list of things that she's thinking of cutting back on in our state here in Hawaii?
A list. She is working very closely with both the Senate and the House in regards to a myriad amount of different things that can be looked at in order to balance our budget. Our budget has to balance. It's by law, it has to balance. And we turned in a balanced budget prior to the reforecast by the Council of Revenues, and so we need to find some additional dollars because of the new forecast. And she's working very closely with both the Senate and the House in regards to all of the options that should be looked at as we move forward.
Yeah, maybe we can get a list of some of those options. I realize the state is going through an economic crunch now, so I'm sure she has a pretty targeted list about now. Okay, thank you.
Marsha, I did have one question. We supported the Duke Kahanamoku Lagoon project, and one of the benefits was it gets flushed 5 times a day with fresh water or seawater, and that's pumped into the Alawai Yacht Harbor. Is there any change in the quality of the water in the Alawai that's being recorded? Is there such a method there?
There is, and I know that the Department of Health Clean Water Branch monitors the water on a regular basis. I can find out.
Yeah.
They normally will tell me if there is a change in the water conditions, and they haven't said anything, but I will follow up.
I just wondered if pushing that water in there was pushing out some of the pollution.
You still can't swim in it, and some of that water from good old Hilton is being pumped into the Hilton to use as air conditioning. At 163 feet, I think they dug a couple of wells for their AC system. So it wasn't all goody two-shoes,
Yeah.
you know, fixing that lagoon up.
Never mind. Anything else for the governor's representative? If not, thank you very much, Marcia.
Mahalo.
Next, Senator Brickwood Galataria. Got good news for us?
Hello, everybody. How you guys doing? Okay? Hello, Chair. How are you?
Good.
Excuse me, I got my Capitol attire on. Just came from the Capitol. Let me just say that the session's continuing. And let me just say that indeed this is a challenging time. And to give a credit to everybody at the Capitol, everybody's trying to work as diligently as possible from the 5th floor all the way down to the parking lot. And in that regard, I'd say that when Marcia speaks towards the Council of Revenue's figures that will be coming in March, it makes it awfully hard to come up with a balanced budget without those numbers. So just bear that in mind. And the Senate is indeed trying to work with the governor and with the House to balance the budget. As Marcia was mentioning, it's law. So I believe that we may have come up with several solutions, but it's indeed a part of a 3 to 4 year process. So once the council comes out in March, I believe the figures come out in March, then some of those moving parts we can actually nail down. That's certainly what we're trying to do. Last week was the final day for the introduction of bills in the Senate. And your freshman senator introduced about 15 bills, which from what I understand for a first year is not bad. Many of them had to do with Waikiki, and some of them had to do directly with impact that's made on the neighborhood board level, which includes noise and such. So what I did today was I brought a list of the bills that I introduced and I co-sponsored. And in the case of, I think, one bill that is, I think, comes directly from this neighborhood board, certainly Waikiki, that Rick Agid actually worked with our tourism chair, Clarence Nishihara, Senator Nishihara, to introduce. It's SB 281. And this is related to the statewide traffic code. I know that a lot of people were rather concerned about segways. So tomorrow, actually, we're going to be, it's been fast-tracked to the 3rd reading. Rick, you'll want to know this one. Because we're only in 2nd reading now, but tomorrow we start 3rd reading on the floor, which means that we start to hash things out on the Senate floor tomorrow. And this bill, your bill, will be the very first one heard this session on the Senate floor about what we're calling the statewide traffic code that allows counties to prohibit or regulate electric personal assistant mobility vehicles. Okay, so we're already moving in that direction, and as far as trying to, I know that a lot of you had concerns about the segways on the sidewalk, so we'll see how that goes tomorrow. All we can tell you is that it's moving. This, in addition to several other bills that we've introduced on behalf of the Waikiki area. And what I did was I had my staff put together we got the newsletters. Everybody's got their newsletters. I saw Charles Councilman Dejoux has a fine newsletter, as well as the other elected officials and area legislators. And what I wanted my staff